Who controls the world's oil, and what happens if it runs out? A few countries control most of the world's oil. But the bigger question is, why is so much of it concentrated in one region, West Asia? And if oil is so important, what happens when it eventually runs out? Oil is one of the most critical resources in the global economy. It powers transport, cars, trucks, ships, aircraft. It supports industries like plastics, chemicals, and manufacturing. It plays a role in agriculture through machinery and fertilizers. Modern life depends on continuous movement, and that movement depends heavily on oil. Today, a small group of countries produces most of it. The largest producers include the United States, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Canada, Iraq, China, and the United Arab Emirates. But production is only one part of the story. Because when we look at oil reserves, the total amount still underground, the picture changes. A significant portion of the world's oil reserves is concentrated in West Asia, especially in countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the UAE, and Kuwait. The reason for this is not political. It is geological. Millions of years ago, much of West Asia was covered by shallow seas. These seas were filled with microscopic life, plants and organisms that lived, died, and settled at the bottom. Over time, layer after layer of sediment buried this organic material. As the depth increased, so did heat and pressure. And slowly, over millions of years, this material transformed into oil. But what makes West Asia different is what happened next. The region developed thick sediment layers, stable geological structures, and natural underground traps. These traps held the oil in place, preventing it from escaping. So instead of being scattered or lost, massive quantities of oil accumulated in concentrated reservoirs. That is why the region holds such a large share of the world's reserves. Now compare that timescale to how we use oil today. What took millions of years to form is being extracted, transported, and consumed in just a few decades. Entire geological eras compressed into fuel tanks. This is not a renewable cycle in human time. It is a one-time inheritance being used at extraordinary speed. So what happens when oil runs out? It will not disappear suddenly. Oil depletion is gradual. At current consumption levels, known reserves are estimated to last around 40 to 50 years. But this estimate keeps changing because new reserves are discovered, technology improves extraction, and consumption patterns shift. Still, if oil were to fully run out, the impact would be significant. Transport would be the first major system affected. Cars, trucks, ships, and airplanes rely heavily on oil. Alternatives like electric vehicles exist, but they are not yet universal. Industries would also face disruption. Plastics, chemicals, and many manufacturing processes depend on petroleum. Agriculture would be affected as well. Fuel for machinery and petrochemical-based fertilizers would become limited. However, this does not mean sudden collapse. The world is already preparing for a transition. Countries are investing in renewable energy like solar and wind, developing electric transport, and exploring alternative fuels. So the shift away from oil is expected to be gradual. The real challenge is not that oil will disappear overnight. It is that the world must transition away from a resource that took millions of years to form, but is being consumed within a fraction of that time. A few countries produce most of the world's oil, and West Asia holds the largest reserves because of its unique geological history. Oil will not suddenly run out, but it will become harder and more expensive to use over time. And the future depends on how smoothly the world can move from an oil-based system to something that can replace it.